You don't need to announce your next move. You don't need validation. And you definitely don't need permission. Because the most powerful transformations in life happen quietly, unseen, unnoticed, until it's too late for anyone to stop you. Right now, there are things in your life holding you back. Not in an obvious way. Not in a loud, dramatic way. But in a silent, consistent, draining way. These things are stealing your focus, weakening your discipline, and keeping you stuck exactly where you are. And the truth is, nobody is coming to remove them for you. You have to eliminate them. Silently. Without warning. Without explanation. Because when you start explaining your growth, you give people the chance to resist it. So today, we're not talking about adding more to your life. We're talking about removing what no longer serves you. Quietly. Strategically. Permanently. But before we go deeper, do one simple thing. Subscribe to the channel. Because if you're serious about becoming stronger, calmer, and more in control, this is where you need to be. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and stay with me till the end, because what you're about to understand will change how you move forever. Now listen carefully. The first thing you need to eliminate is the need to explain yourself. Every time you explain your decisions, your growth, your boundaries, you weaken them. Not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Silence is power. When you stop explaining, you take back control. You move differently. You act without hesitation. And people? They start to feel the shift, even if they don't understand it. Let them wonder. The second thing, eliminate people who only show up when it benefits them. You already know who they are. The ones who disappear when you need support but appear the moment you start making progress. The ones who drain your energy with complaints, negativity, and hidden jealousy. You don't need to argue with them. You don't need to confront them. You just disappear. You become unavailable. You become distant. You become focused. And slowly, they lose access to you. No drama. No announcements. Just distance. The third thing, eliminate distractions disguised as comfort. Scrolling endlessly. Wasting hours on things that don't move your life forward. Choosing temporary comfort over long-term growth. Comfort is addictive. And that's why it's dangerous. Every time you choose comfort, you delay your potential. So you don't quit everything overnight. You just start cutting it off, little by little. Less scrolling. Less noise. More focus. And over time, your discipline becomes your identity. The fourth thing, eliminate self-doubt. Not by fighting it loudly, but by acting despite it. Self-doubt grows when you hesitate. It weakens when you move. So instead of waiting to feel ready, you act. You start before you feel confident. You move before you feel prepared. And slowly, your actions begin to silence your fears. Because confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. The fifth thing, eliminate the habit of seeking approval. If you live for approval, you'll die by rejection. You can't become powerful if your decisions depend on how people react. You can't grow if you're constantly adjusting yourself to fit into other people's expectations. So you stop asking. You stop checking. You stop needing people to clap before you move. And when you reach that level, something changes. You become dangerous. Not to others, but to your old self. The sixth thing, eliminate inconsistency. You don't need motivation. You need discipline. Motivation fades. It comes and goes. But discipline stays. So you show up even when you don't feel like it. You work even when it's boring. You stay consistent even when nobody is watching. Because that's where real transformation happens. In the quiet. In the repetition. In the days no one sees. The seventh thing, eliminate emotional reactions. Not everything deserves your response. Not every comment needs your attention. Not every situation needs your energy. When you react emotionally, you give away control. But when you stay calm, when you pause, when you choose your response carefully, you become untouchable. Calm is power. And people can feel it. The eighth thing, eliminate excuses. Excuses sound valid. They feel real. But they keep you stuck. There will always be a reason not to start. There will always be a reason to delay. But successful people? They don't wait for perfect conditions. They move anyway. So you stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop saying, later. And you start saying, now. The ninth thing, eliminate comparison. Someone else's success has nothing to do with your journey. When you compare, you lose focus. You lose confidence. You lose direction. So you stop looking sideways. You focus on your own path. Your own growth. Your own progress. And that's when things start to change. The 10th thing, eliminate the old version of yourself. The habits that held you back. The mindset that kept you small. The patterns that kept repeating. You don't carry that version forward. You let it go. Quietly. Without regret. Because you're not who you used to be. And you're not going back. Now understand this. You don't need to tell anyone you're changing. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to prove it. Just do it. Let your silence speak. Let your results show. Let your growth shock them. Because the most powerful people move in silence. And by the time the world notices, it's already too late to doubt them. If this message hit you, subscribe right now. Stay connected, because this is just the beginning. Share this with someone who needs to wake up, and drop a comment if you're ready to eliminate what's holding you back. Now go. Not loudly. Not publicly. But powerfully. And silently. And when you begin to move like this, something strange starts to happen. At first, nobody notices. You wake up earlier, no one claps. You stay focused longer, no one congratulates you. You start saying no, people feel it, but they don't understand it. That's the phase most people quit. Because it feels like nothing is changing. But everything is changing. This is the invisible phase. The phase where your habits are being rebuilt. Where your mind is being sharpened. Where your identity is being rewritten. And it's quiet. Painfully quiet. But this is where you separate yourself from everyone else. Because most people need noise to feel progress. They need attention. They need validation. They need people to notice. But you learn to operate without it. You learn to trust the process even when there's no applause. And that's when your power starts to grow. Now listen. There's another thing you must eliminate. The habit of starting strong and finishing weak. Anyone can feel motivated at the beginning. Anyone can get excited about a new plan, a new goal, a new version of themselves. But very few people can stay consistent when the excitement fades. When it gets repetitive. When it gets boring. When it feels like you're putting in effort with no visible reward. That's where most people stop. But that's exactly where you continue. Because discipline is not about how you start. It's about how you continue when you don't feel like it anymore. So you train yourself to keep going. Even when it's dull. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when you feel like quitting. That's how you build something real. Now let's go deeper. Eliminate the fear of being misunderstood. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will understand your distance. Not everyone will understand why you're no longer available the way you used to be. And that's okay. Because growth looks like isolation before it looks like success. People will question you. They'll assume things. They'll label you. Let them. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to become someone you respect. And that requires sacrifice. Another thing. Eliminate the addiction to comfort conversations. Small talk. Endless gossip. Talking about people instead of building yourself. Pay attention to your conversations. They shape your mindset. If you're constantly talking about problems, drama, and negativity, you'll stay stuck in that cycle. But when you start choosing silence over meaningless conversations, you create space. Space to think. Space to plan. Space to grow. Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. And when you get comfortable being alone with your thoughts, you gain clarity that most people will never experience. Now understand this clearly. You are not losing people. You are losing distractions. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming focused. You are not isolating yourself. You are protecting your energy. There's a difference. And once you understand that difference, you stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. You stop apologizing for growing. And that's when things shift. Now let's talk about something most people avoid. Eliminate your attachment to your past identity. Who you were yesterday, last year, even a few months ago. That version of you cannot come where you're going. But many people hold on to their past because it's familiar. Even if it's limiting. Even if it's painful. Even if it's holding them back. They stay the same because change feels uncomfortable. But you let go. You stop introducing yourself with your past. You stop defining yourself by old mistakes. You stop repeating the same patterns. And you start becoming someone new. Quietly. Without announcement. Without permission. Now imagine this. Months from now. You've stayed consistent. You've stayed silent. You've stayed focused. And suddenly, people start noticing. They see the difference in how you move. How you speak. How you carry yourself. They notice your discipline. Your calmness. Your confidence. And they start asking questions. What changed? What are you doing differently? How did you do it? And you know what you'll say? Nothing. Because your results will speak for you. That's the goal. Not to convince people, but to show them. Without saying a word. Now before you go any further, if you've made it this far, subscribe right now. Because this mindset, this level of control, this way of thinking, most people will never understand it unless they hear it repeatedly. Share this with someone who's ready to level up, and stay with me, because we're not done yet. There's still more you need to eliminate. Eliminate the habit of overthinking. Overthinking doesn't solve problems. It delays action. It creates fear where there should be movement. It turns small decisions into overwhelming obstacles. So instead of thinking endlessly, you act. You decide, and you move. You trust yourself. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. Now another one. Eliminate the need to always be busy. Being busy is not the same as being productive. You can spend the whole day doing things, and still make no progress. So you start focusing on what actually matters. You prioritize. You cut out unnecessary tasks. You stop filling your time just to feel productive. And instead, you focus on results. Because real growth is intentional. Not random. And finally, eliminate hesitation. Hesitation is where opportunities die. You wait too long. You think too much. You doubt yourself. And the moment passes. So you train yourself to act faster. To trust your instincts. To move when it matters. Because life rewards action. Not intention. Now take a moment and really understand what you've just heard. This is not about becoming perfect. This is about becoming intentional. This is about taking control of your life. One decision at a time. One habit at a time. One silent move at a time. No announcements. No validation. No noise. Just results. And when you reach that point, you won't need to tell anyone you've changed. They'll see it. They'll feel it. They'll know. And by then, you'll be too far ahead to look back. So move in silence. Eliminate what's holding you back. And become someone they can't ignore, even if you never say a word. And here's where it gets even deeper. Because at some point, it stops being about what you remove from your life. And it starts becoming about who you are becoming in the silence. There's a version of you that doesn't hesitate. A version of you that doesn't need approval. A version of you that moves with clarity, confidence, and control. But that version is buried under habits, noise, distractions, and fear. And every time you eliminate one of those things, You reveal more of who you really are. Not the version shaped by other people's opinions. Not the version limited by past mistakes. The real you. Focused. Disciplined. Unshaken. Now listen carefully. Most people think transformation is about adding more. More motivation. More routines. More strategies. But real transformation? It's subtraction. It's removing everything that weakens you until only strength remains. And that process is not comfortable. There will be days you feel alone. Days you question your decisions. Days you wonder if it's even worth it. Because when you start cutting things off, you create space. And at first, that space feels empty. But it's not empty. It's waiting. Waiting to be filled with something better. Better habits. Better thinking. Better results. So don't rush to fill that space with the same things you removed. Be patient. Let the silence build you. Now there's something else you must understand. When you start moving differently, people will react. Not always directly. Sometimes it's subtle. They stop inviting you. They stop checking on you. They start acting distant. And if you're not careful, you'll take it personally. But don't. Because your growth will make some people uncomfortable. Not because you did anything wrong, but because it reminds them of what they're not doing. So instead of shrinking to make others comfortable, you keep growing. Silently. Confidently. Unapologetically. Another thing you need to eliminate is the habit of looking for quick results. We live in a world where everyone wants things fast. Fast success. Fast money. Fast transformation. But anything that comes fast usually doesn't last. Real growth takes time. It takes consistency. It takes patience. It takes discipline. And most importantly, it takes faith. Faith that what you're doing today will pay off tomorrow. Even if you can't see it yet. So you stop chasing shortcuts. You focus on the process. You trust the repetition. And over time, the results become undeniable. Now let's go even further. Eliminate the need to prove people wrong. That energy is wasted. Because when you focus on proving people wrong, you're still focused on them. Instead, focus on proving yourself right. Focus on becoming the person you said you would be. Because success is not about revenge. It's about alignment. Alignment between who you are and who you're becoming. And when you reach that point, you don't need to respond to doubters. Your life becomes the response. Now imagine this clearly. You walk into a room, and you don't say much. But people notice you. Not because you're loud, but because of your presence. Your calmness. Your confidence. Your control. That kind of presence. It's built in silence. It's built through discipline. It's built by eliminating everything that once made you weak. And the best part? It's real. It's not something you fake. It's something you become. Now before we go further, if you're still here, that means something inside you is waking up. So don't ignore it. Subscribe right now, because this is not just content, this is a shift in mindset. Share this with someone who needs this level of clarity, and stay with me, because the final part is where everything comes together. Now listen. At the end of all this, there's one final thing you must eliminate. The belief that you have time. Because that's the biggest illusion. We delay. We postpone. We tell ourselves, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow is not guaranteed. And every day you wait, you stay the same. So you stop waiting. You stop delaying. You stop telling yourself you'll do it later. You start now. With what you have. Where you are. No excuses. No hesitation. Just action. Because the life you want? It's not built someday. It's built daily. Quietly. Consistently. Relentlessly. And one day, without warning, everything changes. Not because of one big moment, but because of all the small, silent decisions you made when nobody was watching. That's how you win. Not loudly. Not publicly. But silently. If this message changed how you think, subscribe now. Stay connected because this is where real transformation begins. Share this with someone who's ready to level up, and drop a comment if you're choosing discipline over distraction. Now go. Eliminate what's holding you back. Move in silence. And become the version of yourself that doesn't need to be announced, only felt. And if you think this is the end of the process, it isn't. Because elimination is not a one-time decision. It's a lifestyle. Every new level of your life will demand a new level of discipline. And every new level of discipline will demand another round of elimination. That means you will keep removing things. Not because you are lost, but because you are evolving. And here is the part most people never understand. You don't become strong once. You become strong repeatedly. Through daily choices. Through quiet decisions. Through moments where nobody is watching, and you still choose what is right for your future. That's the real test. Not what you do in front of people, but what you eliminate when nobody will ever know. Now listen closely. There will come a point where your old habits will try to return. Not loudly, but subtly. A small distraction here. A small excuse there. A familiar comfort trying to pull you back. And if you're not aware, you will think it's harmless. But that's how people fall back into old versions of themselves. Not in one big failure, but in small compromises. So you must stay alert. You must stay intentional. Because discipline is not just about building yourself. It's about protecting what you've built. Now think about this. The strongest version of you is not the one who is constantly motivated. It is the one who is no longer negotiable. You don't debate with distractions anymore. You don't argue with laziness anymore. You don't entertain things that weaken your direction. You simply choose better. Again and again. Until it becomes your identity. And when your identity changes, your life has no choice but to follow. Now there is something deeper you must eliminate. The need to be understood in real time. Because not everyone will see your vision while you are building it. Not everyone will understand your silence while you are growing. And not everyone will recognize your discipline while you are still in progress. And that's fine. Because clarity is not always immediate. Some things only make sense in hindsight. So instead of explaining your journey, you walk it. Step by step. Without stopping to convince anyone. Now here is a truth most people avoid. You will feel resistance when you change. Internally and externally. Internally, your mind will try to pull you back to comfort. Externally, people may question your distance, your silence, your focus. But resistance is not a sign you are wrong. It is a sign you are changing. And anything that grows will always face resistance. So don't retreat. Don't slow down. Don't shrink. Continue. Because the version of you on the other side of this resistance is worth everything you are letting go of right now. Now let's bring it all together. Eliminate what distracts you. Eliminate what drains you. Eliminate what delays you. Eliminate what weakens your focus. Eliminate what keeps you dependent on approval. And what remains is power. Not loud power. Not attention-seeking power. But quiet power. The kind of power that doesn't announce itself, but changes everything it touches. And once you reach that state, you realize something important. You were never stuck. You were just full of things you needed to remove. Now imagine your life after all of this. You wake up with clarity. You move with intention. You speak less but mean more. You act faster, but with precision. You stop reacting and start controlling your direction. People notice the difference. Not because you told them, but because your energy changed. Your focus changed. Your discipline changed. Your presence changed. And you didn't have to say a word. That is the power of elimination. That is the power of silence. That is the power of becoming intentional with your life. Now before this ends, if you are serious about this shift, don't ignore it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't fall back into old patterns. Share this with someone who is still stuck in distraction. And let this be your reminder every time you feel like quitting or slowing down. Because your future is not built in noise. It is built in silence. And what you eliminate today determines who you become tomorrow. So move quietly. Stay focused. And keep eliminating anything that does not belong in your next level. Now listen to this carefully, because this is where most people miss everything. Even after you eliminate distractions, even after you cut off negativity, even after you build discipline, there is still one battle left. The battle with your identity. Because you can change your habits and still remain the same person inside. And if your identity does not change, you will eventually return to old patterns. That is why real transformation is not just about what you do. It is about who you believe you are. So you must eliminate the old identity completely. The version of you that used to say, "I can't." The version of you that used to delay everything. The version of you that used to depend on motivation. The version of you that used to settle for less. That version must no longer lead your decisions. Because if it still does, no matter how much progress you make, you will always feel like you are starting over. But when your identity shifts, everything becomes natural. Discipline becomes natural. Focus becomes natural. Silence becomes natural. Control becomes natural. You no longer force it. You become it. Now understand something powerful. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So if your systems are weak, your results will be weak. But if your systems are strong, your life becomes stable. That is why elimination is so important. Every distraction you remove strengthens your system. Every habit you cut off sharpens your focus. Every unnecessary attachment you release gives you clarity. And clarity is what separates confusion from power. Now there will be moments when you feel like stopping. Not because you are weak, but because change feels unfamiliar. Your old self will try to negotiate with you. It will say things like, "Just this once," or "You deserve a break," or "You've done enough." But you must recognize those thoughts for what they are. Not truth. Just resistance. And if you give in repeatedly, you don't break once. You slowly return. So instead of negotiating, you decide. No debate. No hesitation. No emotional bargaining. Just discipline. Now here is something you need to hear clearly. The world does not reward potential. It rewards consistency. Nobody cares what you could become. They respond to what you repeatedly do. So you eliminate inconsistency. You become reliable to your own goals. Even when nobody is watching. Especially when nobody is watching. Because that is where real character is built. Now imagine this shift fully taking place. You are no longer easily distracted. You are no longer emotionally reactive. You are no longer dependent on validation. You are no longer stuck in cycles of starting and stopping. Instead, you are steady, calm, focused, controlled. And people begin to notice something they cannot explain. They don't see chaos in your life anymore. They see direction. They don't see confusion anymore. They see intention. And they will assume something changed externally. But you will know the truth. Nothing changed outside first. Everything changed inside. Because you eliminated what was unnecessary. Now let's go even deeper. There is a final level of elimination most people never reach. And that is eliminating emotional dependency. Depending on people to feel okay. Depending on reactions to feel validated. Depending on attention to feel important. When you are emotionally dependent, your peace is always at risk. Because people become your control system. If they respond well, you feel good. If they ignore you, you feel bad. If they criticize you, you lose focus. That is not freedom. That is attachment. So you eliminate it. You learn to stand alone emotionally. Not cold. Not detached from life. But stable. Unshaken. You become someone who does not collapse when things shift around them. And that is real strength. Now let everything come together in your mind. Eliminate distraction. Eliminate inconsistency. Eliminate doubt. Eliminate approval seeking. Eliminate emotional dependency. Eliminate your old identity. And what remains is a version of you that is not easily moved, not easily influenced, not easily broken. A version of you that moves with direction, not emotion. Now before we close this, if you are still watching, it means you are not here for entertainment. You are here for change. So act like it. Subscribe to this channel so you stay consistent with this mindset. Share this message with someone who is still stuck in noise and distraction. And remind yourself every day that growth is not loud. It is silent. It is private. It is disciplined. And it is built through elimination, not addition. So move differently from today. Cut what does not belong. Stay focused on what matters. And keep becoming the version of you that no longer needs to explain anything. Because your life will explain it for you.